Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we can implement authentication in our React Native app. So as you can see over here, this is our getting started screen, and after clicking on this get started button, we are presented with the login screen, and we can go to our sign up screen as well, and we can get back to our sign in screen, right? So this is our auth stack, and when the user will provide their details over here after clicking on sign in, if the credentials match, then they will be presented with the app screen, which is this screen. And over here you can see a proper app screen, and I have already implemented these navigations in my previous tutorials, and all these things are part of a tutorial series in which I'm showing you different parts of React Navigation version 5, and this tutorial is also part of this tutorial series. So if you haven't checked those tutorials yet, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and see those tutorials first, then come here see this tutorial. It will be helpful to you. And in this tutorial we will be looking at how to implement the authentication. So if you are interested in this kind of tutorial, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon to get notified whenever I post a new tutorial. So without wasting any more time, let's get started with the tutorial. So now we are at login screen, and to implement the authentication, I will separate this video in two parts. In first part of this video, I will explain you how to implement the basic authentication in an app. So I will explain some fundamentals behind it, and later part of this tutorial I will implement the actual authentication by using AsycStorage. So if you are interested into implementing actual authentication, then you can see the timestamp over here. You can directly skip to that part of this video, but I will suggest you to stay along with me so that you get to understand the fundamentals of authentication. It will be useful to implement the actual authentication. So the basic concept is that if an user is an authorized user and if he is logged in, then he will be presented with this app screen, which is this draw navigator in our case. And if the user is not logged in yet, or if he is not a valid user, then they will be presented with this root stack screen where our authorization screens are located, such as this sign in and sign up, right? Now to implement this in a basic concept, I will implement some states over here locally in this app.js file, and later we will apply global state management by using useReducer hook and the context API. So over here I'm creating some states. So I have created two states over here. The first one is loading. We will check if the user is authenticated or not, and the other one is the user token, and by this user token we will validate our user. Now I'm creating another screen which will be displayed when is loading is set to true. Then we will return this activity indicator, which is a loader, and for this view I will provide some styles. So now after saving it, we can see that our loader is presented over here, right? So now is loading is set to true. Now we will simulate our login. So now over here we can use effect react hook, and this use effect will run when our screen will be rendering. So in this we will check whether our user is logged in or not. So I'm simulating it. Just for that I am using a set timeout JavaScript function, and over here I will set is loading to false, and we will wait for 1000 milliseconds. So now after saving it, we can see loader screen for 1000 milliseconds, and then we have presented with our root stack screen, and in between this time we will check if the user is logged in or not. So now we need to handle those things. So for that we will create sign in sign out functions which set this user token, and then based upon this user token we will display the respective screens to the user. So now we will create those functions within another React hook called useMemo. useMemo will use the memoization technique, which is a optimization technique for speeding up the execution, and within useMemo we can define those functions. So the function will be sign in, then sign out, and another one will be sign up, right? And within this sign in function we will set this user token, and is loading will be set to false. So first we are setting some user token with a random token, and then is loading will be set to false. For sign out, this set token will be null and is loading will be set to false. For sign up, similarly sign in, we will set the user token and is loading will be false. So now we need to pass these functions into our components. So for that we need to use context. So for that I will create a directory over here called components, and within this component I will create a context.js file. Over here I will import React from React, and then I will export context which we have created by using create context, and our context is auth context. So we need to import it in our app.js file as well as in sign in sign up screen as well. So that's why I have created this context.js so that we can import it easily anywhere we want. Now we need to wrap this complete component tree by this context, and by this context provider we can pass the context value to our component tree. So we have wrapped it, and we will pass the value over here, and the value will be our auth context. And within this auth context we have this sign in sign out functions, right? So we have passed auth context over here, and then we can accept this auth context value in our other components. So first in the sign in we need to accept that. So first I'm going to import this auth context, and over here I will access this sign in, this one, right, by using this useContext, and we will pass our context name over here. So now we can get access this sign in, and into our sign in button we will pass this sign in function. So now if I click over here, then nothing happened because I haven't checked whether we need to present the app screen or not. So over here first we need to check if username is not null, then the user will be presented with this drawn navigator, which is our app screen, and if the user token is null, then they will be presented with this root stack. Okay, now saved it. So after saving it, we automatically presented with this app screen, right? Because previously I have already clicked on the sign in button, and this sign in function already worked that time. So our state has been changed previously. So when I have provided this checking, then it automatically updated the screen. Now we need to provide this sign out over here, and this sign out is located into our drawer content.js. So over here we need to first import the auth context. Now we need to get access the sign out function. So now we can pass this sign out function into our sign out button. So now we have signed out, right? So this is the sign in and sign out process working properly over here, right? So this is the basic concept of the authentication process. Now we will implement it by using global state management system properly by using useReducer, and we have already used the auth context over here, and also we will use the AsycStorage to store our value. And over here in this useMemo we need to pass an empty array so that this doesn't run every time we render our screen. And now for reducer we need to create our reducer function, and we need to provide initial state for our reducer. So I'm commenting these states over here because we will use the reducer states over here. So first we need to have the initial state, so initial login state, and over here we will use is loading. Initially is loading will be true, then we will use username, so username will be null and user token, it is also will be null, and here it will be a constant. And then we need to create a reducer function, and reducer will accept state, so it will be previous state and some action, and based upon the action we can perform different kind of task over here. So I will use a switch case over here, and for the switch I will use the action type, and there will be several cases over here. So we can see that we have this sign in, sign out and sign up cases over here. So I will call this login, and for login we will return something. Similarly we will have logout and register for our sign up, right? And there will be another one which will happen when the user will open the app for first time. So that time the app will check if the user is previously logged in to our app or not. So I will call this retrieve token, and for every cases we will get our previous state, and is loading will be set to false. So it will be same for every return, and to retrieve the token we need to set the token as well over here. So the user token will be action token, so we will pass this token object to our action, and we will set the user token over here. For login we will set the username and user token, so I will pass the ID over here which will be the username, and for the user token we will do this similarly. Now for the logout I will set username to null and user token to null as well. Now for register we will also set the username and token similarly for login. Now this is our reducer function, and this is our initial state. So now we need to create the reducer. Now we can create the reducer by using this useReducer, and we need to pass the reducer function and the initial state over here. So we have this login state for our state which will hold these states, and we can change the state value based upon these switch cases over here which we have created, and we can dispatch the action by this dispatch. So now we need to update these functions to change our state properly based upon the action. So now in sign in we will accept username and password, and we will check if the username and password matching with our username and password. So if the username will be our username, so I'm providing a username over here, but in a practical scenario it would check from our database, right? But I'm not doing that over here. So if the username is user and the password is equal to pass, then we will set the user token, and we will provide a random token over here, but in a practical scenario it is also will be fetched from our database, right? So we need to create user token variable over here, and by default this user token will be set to null. If this condition matches, then the user token will be set to a token. And now we need to dispatch this. So the type will be login, so this login, and we need to also pass username and user token, so we need to pass the ID and token. So the ID will be our username, and for token we will pass this user token, right? So now we have an error over here, so is loading is not defined. Okay, yeah, is loading is not defined because we have changed our state, and now this is loading is coming from this login state which is holding our states and changing our states over here. So it will be updated in our login state, so we can access this from login state, and similarly this user token will also be from this login state. Now saved it. Now we have this error that set is loading is not defined. Yes, we need to change this as well. So now over here this use effect will work for this retrieve token, because in this use effect we will check for our current state. So here we need to dispatch this. I'm copying this code from here, and type will be register, and currently I'm providing some token over here, but later we will get the token from our async storage. So now saved it. Now we can see that there is no error. Now let's implement the sign out as well. So for sign out, we will just simply dispatch this logout, and we don't need to pass anything. So log out and remove these things. So we have implemented this sign out. So sign out is working. Now we need to update sign in screen so that we can pass this username and password from this screen to our function, right? So now over here in the sign in screen, we are already handling these things. So we have this username and password local state, and we are handling all those things. We are updating those things over here. So we will create a function over here, and in this function we will accept username and password, and we will pass those username and password into our sign in function. So into login handle we will pass the username and password, and those username password is located into our data state, right? So data username and data password, right? So saved it. Now let's see, our correct username will be user and the password will be pass. So user pass, clicked on sign in. Now we are signed in, and if we click in sign out, then we are signed out. Now let's test this for another user. Now still we are going in, but we shouldn't do that. Let's see. So now I will output some message in my console. User token over here, and same thing for this as well. And I will update this user token, and for the user token I will provide a token, and I will pass that token over here. Now let's see, refresh this. So now by default this user token is setting over here, so we are going into this. Now click on this sign out. Now it has been updated, but we haven't provided any output for sign out, so we cannot see over here. So let's see, I have clicked over here, it's showing the undefined, we are logged in. Okay, this is the error. This should be user token, so I'm setting the user token as null. Now let's see again. So we are signed out. Now click over here, so now it's null, and now we are not signing in into our app, right? So we can put any other thing over here, click, then we are seeing that user token is set to null, right? Now we need to change this thing, because whenever we are rendering the screen, that time this use effect is occurring. So we need to fetch this user token from async storage. Now it is time to implement the async storage over here. So for that we need to go to async storage page, and we need to install it. So over here I'm using the npm, so npm install async storage. So async storage has been installed, so we can see that async storage has been added to our package.json. And now for the iOS we need to do this step. So cd iOS, now pod install. So it has been done, and for Android we don't need to do anything. Now we need to import this async storage and use it. So I have imported this async storage over here, and now for the sign in we need to use it. So we need to use this async await over here. So we will set an item. So for this sign in we will use this async, and then if the user matches, then we will try. then we need to set these things. Within try, I will add this await, and the item will be user token, and the value for it will be this user token, and I will position this into this try block. And for the error, we will catch the error, and currently we will output this into our console log. Okay, and we will similarly do this thing for use effect as well. Now over here it would be async, then similarly this try and catch, and over here we will get the item. So we will get the item, this user token item, we will get it, and now it will be set to this user token, and then we can pass the user token over here. And for this over here we will pass null. So first the user token will be set to null, and then we will try to get the user token from our async storage. If it fetch the data, then it will update the user token, and then we can pass the user token over here. And for the sign out also we need to implement the async storage so that we remove the user token from our async storage. Now we don't need any username, and we will remove the item. So now check it, see when I saved it, then the screen is automatically set to our auth screen, right? So now let's do it. User and password, sign in. We are signed in, and then click on sign out. So we are signed out from this, and now if I click on sign in, then nothing happened. And if I am signed in, and from here I'm closing this app. Okay, and now again I'm opening this app. Then we are directly presented with our app screen because we have previously logged in, and that user token is stored into our async storage, right? So from the async storage we are fetching the user token, and then our app is saying that this is a logged in user, so we are directly presented with this app screen, right? And if I sign out, now close this, again open this app, now we are presented with this login screen, right? So this is the correct way to implement the authentication in an app. And in my next tutorial I will implement the validation over here. So currently if the user is not putting anything over here and we can click into this sign in, then there is no clear message what is happening, so user will not know what is happening. Also if the user put any other detail over here and click over here, then also it's not showing any proper error message to the user, so the user experience is not good enough. So we will implement the validation in my next tutorial, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you have learned something new from this tutorial. If you do so, then like this video, let me know by commenting down below, and if you have any kind of suggestion for me, then also let me know in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new tutorial. So I will see you guys in my next tutorial. In the meantime, have a great day. Goodbye.